Putin's worst nightmare come to fruition. NATO is not only still here, it's muscled up, it's motivated, and possibly adding two more sophisticated nations. So what is Vladimir Putin worried about? What will he do? Let's ask a man that's dealt with him before, former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, always great to see you. What about the new news that's happened, that it looks like come June, Sweden and Finland are going to ask for admission? Should we say welcome?
Hey, Brian, we certainly should. It's the case that I think Vladimir Putin can now see that NATO is real and serious. But I think he's always known, Brian, that doesn't present an offensive threat to him. His claim that somehow NATO presents risk to the Russian people is just silliness. It's his excuse to attack what he's done here in Ukraine today. So Sweden and Finland present no risk to Russia, to Vladimir Putin, or to the Russian people, and we should welcome them. I think they can see that being in the mushy middle, being in some place as Ukraine was, where it wasn't clear if the guarantees that had been made as part of the commitments in '94, the Budapest Memorandum, if they'd be real or not. I think those two countries can see that they are better to be with this powerful entity. And Brian, my last thought here is, it's great to see NATO waking up. I pray that these European countries get real religion, and it's not just for the moment. They've committed to spending 2% of their GDP. That's not enough. Europe needs to take the lead. They need to make NATO strong. And Sweden, Finland joining, I think that's great. But Germany, France, and all the others need to get to their defensive commitments as well.
And also get off Russian oil and gas. Just your opinion, do you think they do? Have they found religion? Do you think they'll have a different focus now after the carnage we're seeing, and also what the Russians are capable of and not capable of?
I hope so. I hope the people of those nations have, because their political leaders have failed them. Your point about energy is precisely right. We warned them back in 2017 that building that pipeline, counting on Russian gas, would come back to haunt them. It now has. I'm worried, though, Brian. I'm worried that when this moment passes, whenever that is, that they'll go back to business as usual, that their green climate activists will drive them back to Russian energy for the moment, and then in the end, they'll decide, it's just not worth the candle. We'll count on America to come in. The Europeans need to take the lead. It's their responsibility. They've made these promises to their NATO member states, their fellow NATO member states. They need to live up to them. I fear that when this moment passes, they'll go back to where they've been these last 25 years.
I like to push differently, because I think they were asked to remember something they didn't live through. They're living through this now, and they're seeing innocent people being targeted, killed, and tortured. My hope is they won't be able to go back to it. Their people won't let them. William Burns, the new CIA director, a job you held, said this about our main threat right now, along with Russia. Listen.
A silent partner in Putin's aggression, Xi Jinping's China is our greatest challenge, in many ways the most profound test that CIA has ever faced.
You agree with that assessment? More profound than the Soviet Union, the 60s and 70s?
100%. I am actually heartened to hear Director Burns say that, to follow through on what the Trump administration was doing. There's no doubt about this, Brian. Xi is watching this. My guess is not only is he a silent partner along with Russia, that as Russian continue to be challenged, as the Ukrainians continue to succeed, if we do the right thing and provide them with the armaments they need, that Xi will find himself actually supporting Russia. It'll be financial, it'll be with intelligence. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Xi Jinping has made his bed and he has decided he can't let Vladimir Putin fail, and won't.
Mr. Secretary, from what he's seen so far, do you believe that President Xi is less or more likely to attack Taiwan, to see how Vladimir Putin clearly miscalculated in Ukraine?
I don't think this changes Xi's intentions one bit, Brian. It may be that he'll delay for a moment. He'll want to double check that his generals weren't lying to him, too. But his intention to reclaim Taiwan, his words, to reunify Taiwan, his words, aren't going to change. He may choose a bit of a different tactic. He may wait just a little bit. But we should not forget for one moment, Director Burns nailed it. The Chinese Communist Party presents the singular greatest external threat to the United States of America, and he is not going to walk away from what he has promised his people. A deep commitment that Xi made to his own people in his country, that he will reunify his nation by drawing Taiwan into the Chinese Communist Party's orbit, is something he's not going to walk away from just because Vladimir Putin had a difficult time capturing Kyiv.
He has warned us, the Chinese president, not to arm Taiwan like we armed Ukraine. I believe we should do it anyway, with uniformed soldiers anyway. How do you feel about that?
Brian, we should arm them to the teeth, and the moment is upon us. You saw this, right? Hard to get MiG-29s in after the war has started. Same way it would be incredibly difficult to create armament shipments and resupply routes to this island nation of Taiwan once she has already taken action. We were doing it in the Trump administration. On our watch, I signed off on the sale of F-16s and high-end aircraft, anti-aircraft systems. I hope the Biden administration will continue to do this. We should make it incredibly clear that it will be expensive, costly, and very likely to fail should she take military action against Taiwan. We should make sure, too, Brian, that our allies in the region, Japan, South Korea, Australia, that they're doing it as well. This needs to be a collective effort. Xi's intentions are far bigger than just Taiwan. We need to make sure that all of the liberal democracies in that region understand that and are preparing to do their part to help not only the Taiwanese, but make sure they're prepared to defend their own sovereignty as well.
Mr. Secretary, thanks so much. I know you got a lot going on. You got your family in Easter, and you gave us some quality time, but we needed your insight. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a blessed Easter, Brian. So long.
Back at you, Mr. Secretary. Meanwhile,